There are moments in every royal family when private concerns remain hidden behind carefully rehearsed smiles. The cameras capture elegant ceremonies, polished speeches, and perfect appearances. But what if, behind the palace walls, tensions were quietly reaching a breaking point? What if one decision made by Spain's future queen forced King Felipe to call a meeting so secret that even senior palace staff had no idea it was happening? According to this fictional story, everything changed after Princess Leonor began making choices that surprised even those closest to her. For years, Leonor had followed every expectation placed upon her. Military training, public engagements, official ceremonies, she carried herself with discipline and maturity beyond her years. Many admired her, many respected her, but they also noticed something changing. She was becoming more independent, more willing to question long-standing traditions, less interested in simply accepting every palace instruction without discussion. At first, King Felipe believed it was part of growing into adulthood. Future monarchs must eventually develop their own voice. But there is a difference between finding your voice and ignoring centuries of protocol. Or at least that is how this fictional version of events begins. The turning point came after an important internal planning session concerning several future royal engagements. Senior advisors presented a carefully prepared schedule for Leonor. International visits, military ceremonies, charity appearances, constitutional events. Everything had been arranged months in advance. Leonor listened patiently. When everyone finished speaking, she quietly closed the folder. "I won't be attending all of these." Silence filled the room. Several advisors exchanged nervous glances. One cautiously asked whether she had another commitment. Leonor simply replied, "I believe some of these appearances no longer serve the people the way they're intended to." Those words echoed through the room. No one expected such a direct challenge. Within hours, whispers spread throughout the palace. No shouting, no dramatic confrontation, just uncertainty. King Felipe was informed before sunset. According to this fictional tale, he did not react immediately. Instead, he spent hours reading reports, listening, thinking. By midnight, he made an unusual decision. A confidential meeting would be held the following morning. Attendance would be limited, only his closest constitutional advisors, the head of the royal household, a senior communications official, and one legal advisor. No assistants, no secretaries, no written agenda. When the meeting began, Felipe remained unusually quiet. He allowed everyone else to speak first. One advisor believed Leonor's independence demonstrated maturity. Another warned that changing traditions too quickly could create confusion. Others feared public misunderstanding more than the decisions themselves. The king listened to every opinion. Only after nearly an hour did he finally speak. "My concern isn't disagreement." The room became completely silent. "My concern is timing." Everyone waited. Spain deserves stability. Those 4 words carried enormous weight. The advisors understood exactly what he meant. The future queen would one day shape the monarchy. But sudden changes could be interpreted in ways no one intended. Meanwhile, Leonor remained completely unaware that such a meeting had even taken place. She continued her military responsibilities as usual. She greeted fellow cadets, completed exercises, maintained her calm expression. Yet something felt different. Several palace officials who normally contacted her daily had become unusually quiet. Even routine communications seemed delayed. Eventually she noticed. When she asked one trusted aide whether something had happened, the answer was careful. "The king has been reviewing future plans." Nothing more. No explanation. No details. Leonor sensed there was more beneath those words. That evening she requested a private audience with her father. Normally such requests were easy to arrange. This time she was asked to wait. Not hours. 2 full days. It was unusual. Very unusual. When father and daughter finally met, neither raised their voice. Neither appeared angry. Instead, the conversation began gently. Felipe poured tea for both of them. He asked about military training, her studies, her health. Only then did he turn toward the real subject. "I've heard you've been questioning certain responsibilities." Leonor nodded. "I have. And why?" She looked directly at him. "Because I believe the institution grows stronger when it listens." Felipe remained silent. She continued. "The people my generation speaks to expect openness. They expect honesty. They expect authenticity. If I simply follow every tradition without reflection, am I really preparing to lead?" Those words lingered in the room. Felipe understood her point, perhaps better than she realized. But leadership also meant understanding consequences. "Every choice," he said softly, "creates expectations. Leonor answered immediately. So does avoiding change. Neither was entirely wrong. Neither was entirely right. For several minutes neither spoke. Outside, the palace gardens remained perfectly still. Eventually Felipe leaned forward. There are moments when patience changes more than protest. Leonor smiled slightly. And there are moments when waiting changes nothing. Their conversation continued long into the evening. Not as king and heir, but as father and daughter. Each trying to protect something precious. Felipe wanted to preserve stability. Leonor wanted to prepare the monarchy for a different future. According to this fictional story, the secret meeting had never been about punishment. It had been about understanding. About determining whether Leonor's growing independence represented confidence or unnecessary risk. Days later another opportunity emerged. A major public appearance. Thousands would attend. The media expected routine speeches. Instead, Leonor made one subtle change. She spent extra time speaking directly with young volunteers. She ignored the carefully timed schedule. She stayed nearly 40 minutes longer than planned. Television cameras captured genuine conversations. Laughter, questions, simple interactions. Many praised her warmth. Others criticized the disruption to protocol. Back inside the palace, officials debated whether this proved Philippe's concerns. Some argued yes. Others believed the public response justified Leonor's instincts. When reports reached the king, he surprised everyone. He didn't criticize. He didn't praise. He simply asked one question. Did the people feel heard? The room fell silent. One advisor finally answered, "Yes, Your Majesty." Felipe slowly nodded. "Then perhaps we also have something to learn." Those words marked a quiet shift. Not surrender, not complete agreement, but recognition that the monarchy itself had always evolved across generations. Even traditions once considered permanent had changed over time. Leonor also reflected on their conversation. She realized independence without preparation could create unnecessary misunderstandings. She began consulting palace staff more frequently before proposing changes. Not because she had abandoned her ideas, but because she understood collaboration could strengthen them. Weeks later father and daughter met again. This time no tension filled the room. Felipe handed Leonor an old photograph. It showed him as a young prince, standing beside his own father. "I questioned many things too," he admitted with a smile. Leonor looked surprised. "You did, more than anyone remembers." She laughed. "So history repeats itself." "Sometimes," Felipe replied, "but hopefully each generation repeats it a little better." That evening both left the room with greater understanding. The palace remained united, not because every disagreement disappeared, but because respect had survived disagreement. Perhaps that was the true lesson. Leadership is not about never questioning tradition. Nor is it about rejecting every custom. It is about knowing which traditions protect the future, and which changes help build it. In this fictional story, the secret meeting that many imagined as a crisis became something entirely different. It became the beginning of a conversation. A conversation between experience and youth. Between caution and courage. Between a king protecting an institution and a future queen preparing to inherit it. Sometimes the strongest families are not those who never disagree. They are those who continue listening after the disagreement begins. And perhaps that is the greatest strength any future monarch could ever possess. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this fictional royal drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think a future monarch should balance tradition with change?